72 hours of darkness. And that is so true, that's what I'm afraid of. I guess if we have some provisions concealed, if we can't buy and sell, we do not want to get the mark of the wild beast. We could make it through without dying or losing our immune system with the rest of the people dying around us. It's a free gift if we put our trust in the true God, and the one he sent forth, Jesus Christ. Revelation 6:12. And I saw when he opened the sixth seal, and a great earthquake occurred. And the sun became black as sackcloth made of hair, and the entire moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell to the earth as when a fig tree shaken by a high wind drops its unripe figs. And heavens departed as a scroll that is being rolled up, and every mountain and every island was removed from its place, extreme brightness, because all the light would come through the glory of God. Or could it be like in the days of Moses, 10 plagues hit Egypt, the true God's people had light in our homes? But for 72 hours, it was so dark the Egyptians could not even eat food. It was so dark they could feel it, so we need to do is make it to that point. And you might be just surviving and all sudden everything goes quiet. Nobody travels about, and then all of a sudden everybody scream and out of fear because they know what is about to happen to them, because it was so dark for 3 days. The stars and the sun, the moon fall from heaven, but when heaven expanse or firmament roll back like scrolls, just light will come through. That's when Jesus will appear on the white horse. Genesis 1:16. And God went on to make the two great luminaries, the greater luminary for dominating the day and the lesser luminary for dominating the night, and also the stars. Thus God put them in the expanse of the heavens to shine upon the earth and to dominate, by day and by night, and to make a division between the light and the darkness. Then God saw that it was good. Revelation 6:15. Then the kings of the earth, the high officials, the military commanders, the rich, the strong, every slave and every free person hid in the caves and among the rocks of the mountains. And they keep saying to the mountains and to the rocks, fall over us and hide us from the face of the one seated on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. This will take place after the great tribulation. I hope I'm able to do what it says in Luke 21:27. And then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. But as these things start to occur, stand up straight and lift up your heads, because your deliverance is getting near. Mark 13:24. But in those days, after that tribulation, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. And the stars will be falling out of heaven, and the powers that are in the heavens will be shaken. And then they will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and glory. And then he will send out the angels, and will gather his chosen ones together from the four winds, from earth's extremity to heaven's extremity. Matthew 2:4-29. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light, and the stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven, and all the tribes of the earth will beat themselves in grief, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he will send out his angels with a great trumpet sound, and they will gather his chosen ones together from the four winds, from one extremity of the heavens to their other extremity. John 5:51. I am the living bread that came down from heaven. If anyone eats of this bread, he will live forever. And for a fact, the bread that I will give is my flesh in behalf of the life of the world. Then the Jews began to argue with one another, saying, how can this man give us his flesh to eat? So Jesus said to them, most truly I say to you, unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you have no life in yourselves. Whoever feeds on my flesh and drinks my blood has everlasting life, and I will resurrect him on the last day, for my flesh is true food, and my blood is true drink. Whoever feeds on my flesh and drinks my blood remains in union with me, and I in union with him. And to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white, for the fine linen is the righteousness of saints. Revelation 7:9. After this I saw, and look, a great crowd, which no man was able to number, out of all nations and tribes and peoples and tongues, standing before the throne and before the Lamb, dressed in white robes, and there were palm branches in their hands. And they keep shouting with a loud voice, saying, salvation we owe to our God, who is seated on the throne, and to the Lamb. All the angels were standing around the throne, and the elders, and the 4 living creatures. And they fell face down before the throne, and worshipped God, saying, Amen. Let the praise and the glory and the wisdom and the thanksgiving and the honor and the power and the strength be to our God forever and ever. Amen. In response, one of the elders said to me, "These who are dressed in the white robes, who are they and where did they come from?" So right away I said to him, "My Lord, you are the one who knows." And he said to me, "These are the ones who come out of the great tribulation, and they have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. That is why they are before the throne of God, and they are rendering him sacred service day and night in his temple, and the one seated on the throne will spread his tent over them." Revelations 19:7. Let us be glad and rejoice, and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his wife hath made herself ready. And to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean, and white, for the fine linen is the righteousness of saints. Revelation 19:20. And the wild beast was caught, and along with it the false prophet that performed in front of it the signs, with which he misled those who received the mark of the wild beast, and those who worship its image. While still alive, they both were hurled into the fiery lake that burns with sulfur. But the rest were killed off with the long sword that proceeded out of the mouth of the one seated on the horse. And all the birds were filled with their flesh. Daniel 12:3. And they that are wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars for ever and ever. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words, and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. Now you will be able to shine as brightly as the firmament. In other words, if you put your trust in Jesus your whole life, and you die, he will resurrect you in the last days. This is not talking about the 144,000. And doesn't it that mean that we need to be partaking of the emblems? Is it not? AI? Do we need to protect ourselves, the full control of AI? Revelation 13:13. And it performs great signs, even making fire come down out of heaven to the earth in the sight of mankind. It misleads those who dwell on the earth, because of the signs that it was permitted to perform in the sight of the wild beast. While it tells those who dwell on the earth to make an image to the wild beast that had the sword stroke and yet revived. And it was permitted to give breath to the image of the wild beast, so that the image of the wild beast should both speak and cause to be killed all those who refuse to worship the image of the wild beast. It puts under compulsion all people, the small and the great, the rich and the poor, the free and the slaves, that these should be marked on their right hand or on their forehead, and that nobody can buy or sell except a person having the mark, the name of the wild beast or the number of its name. This is where it calls for wisdom. Let the one who has insight calculate the number of the wild beast, for it is a man's number, and its number is 666. Matthew 24:21. For then there will be great tribulation such as has not occurred since the world's beginning until now. No, nor will occur again. In fact, unless those days were cut short, no flesh would be saved. But on account of the chosen ones, those days will be cut short. Then if anyone says to you, "Look, here is the Christ," or "There," do not believe it. For false Christs and false prophets will arise and will perform great signs and wonders, so as to mislead, if possible, even the chosen ones. Look, I have forewarned you. Therefore, if people say to you, "Look, he is in the wilderness," do not go out. "Look, he is in the inner rooms," do not believe it. Wisdom to hide some food in the ground, or some place where nobody can find it. So, if you have to flee and not look back, if you have to, you can. Come back and dig it up. Be friends with somebody that can buy and sell. Build a work for them, because you can't buy or sell, you have something to eat. The food you have, cook it, and I cannot produce a smell if you barbecue it. Something the aroma will go far. Like a nice barbecue on a summer's day, something you don't want your neighbors to know what you're eating. Revelations 14:9. Another angel, a third, followed them, saying in a loud voice, "If anyone worships the wild beast, and its image, and receives a mark on his forehead or on his hand, he will also drink of the wine of the anger of God that is poured out undiluted into the cup of his wrath, and he will be tormented with fire and sulfur in the sight of the holy angels, and in the sight of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascends forever and ever, and day and night they have no rest. Those who worship the wild beast and its image, and whoever receives the mark of its name." Here is where it calls for endurance on the part of the holy ones, those who keep the commandments of God and hold fast to the faith of Jesus. And I heard a voice out of heaven say, "Write, happy are the dead who die in union with the Lord from this time onward." Yes, says the Spirit. Let them rest from their labors, for the things they did go right with them. Revelation 16:1. And I heard a loud voice out of the sanctuary say to the 7 angels, "Go and pour out the 7 bowls of the anger of God on the earth." The first one went off, and poured out his bowl on the earth. And a hurtful and malignant ulcer afflicted the people who had the mark of the wild beast, and who were worshipping its image.